Start. Chapter 5, Orthodoxy and Reform. From Book 2, The Parsees, in The Treasure of the Magi, a study of modern Zoroastrianism by James Hope Moulton. And in the spirit of study, I am commenting where I see fit or feel like, or, because sometimes it's not what's fit later, right? Whoso offereth the sacrifice of thanksgiving glorifieth me, and to him that ordereth his conversation aright will I show the salvation of God. The Parsees are in the present day very deeply divided, and their extreme sections are at least as far apart as the extremes of Christendom. Credulity at one end, almost complete denial at the other, vie with each other in the use of hard words and religious indifference, far worse than either claims. It's thousands for whom the manifold interests of this life blot out all visions of the unseen. Yeah, secularism has proven to be worse to divide the people than any religious division, hasn't it? We saw in the last chapter that the Parsee community makes no provision whatever for religious instruction, having no teaching order, no opportunities for the giving of religious guidance, except purely spasmodic and occasional efforts. It is only naturally that apathy should prevail widely among a people very clannish and proud of their caste, but mostly very ignorant of their sacred books. Yeah, most of them aren't even learning the sacred books, let alone understanding them. But sacred music has its effect. If you've ever heard these things, you know it's more than just... And it's equally natural that thinking people should fall under the influence of their environment. When that environment is modern India, the results are likely to be curiously diverse. Some remarks on that environment are necessary if Western readers are to understand the religious conditions of the Parsees. The subtle but undisciplined Indian mind tends to be more disciplined than the West, actually, has swung into extremes under impacts of the West. First came the epoch of eager acceptance, when India was proud to wear even the cast-off garments of European thought. Now is the epoch of reaction. The East believes itself inherently superior. We represent force, and intellect and spirituality will conquer force someday. All the material inventions of which the East is glad to take advantage of are really her own coming back to her. It is written in the ancient records that heroes of the Indian epoch took winged cars and soared into the sky. The Western airplane is only therefore a rediscovery. On the same showing, we might safely add the silence of the Vedas about wires conclusively proves that Marconi was no pioneer. The antiquity of Oriental civilization is dated by a chronology for which 1,000 years are as one day. An Indian judge was heard to speak in public of the truths enunciated by the Gospels 2,000 years ago, and by the Vedas 20,000, and when the anticipations of the present-day dogmas are alleged to occur in ancient lore, the Veda actually is traced back to about 40,000 years ago, certain parts of it, and certain Vedic literature actually can go back a couple million years, recording things that happened in a more or less precise way, that, oh, this geological thing happened at this century. It's like, when the anticipations of present-day dogmas are alleged to occur in ancient lore, and the Western savant with grammar and dictionary urges the text will not bear the interpretation, he is told that spiritual insight has no need of such materialistic methods, like the Christian who, when you have a point out the Bible actually says something, it's like, well, that I don't feel that that's the right way to interpret it. So, I just don't understand the contradictions. There's not contradictions. It's just that we don't have the spiritual guidance to, We urge that 2 and 2 can only make 4. The West says so is the reply. We can make it 3. Under certain circumstances, 17. This is more paraphrase than parody. Unfortunately, India does not like to be told her faults, even by the kindliest observers, and those who are the most alive to her many virtues. Actually, it has long been a thing that in these lower realms of incarnation, there's contradiction inherent, because they notice the problems early on and just, instead of dealing with them, learn to accept them. In her present mood, she is very loath accepting counsel, and all criticism is discontented in advance. Only experience will show her that the wiser way is to choose not the indigenous or the foreign, but the best. God grant that experience be not too dearly bought. There's good and truth in all paths, people, but let's not pretend that all beliefs and practices are equal.